there's one single thing, really one single belief or mindset that you need to master in order to totally cure imposter syndrome. Me, give that to me. I want to know that right now. You're in luck because we're going to get into it right now. Hey, CourtneyLSanders here. Welcome back to my channel. If you're new to me, I'm a full-time online life and business coach as well as wife and mom. I wear all the hats and do all the things, but I wouldn't have been able to do all the things or even get to the level that I am right now, or let alone start my business, had I not mastered overcoming imposter syndrome. And I know how much of a struggle that can be, especially when you do want to start your online business, you want to coach others, you want to share your expertise, but you have this nagging thing in the back of your head that's like, but can I really do it? How do I overcome this? So I really was thinking about this because I know that so many people struggle with this, especially so many women struggle with this. And I realized that there's one single thing, really one single belief or mindset that you need to master in order to totally cure imposter syndrome. And so if you're wondering what that is, because you're like, me, give that to me. I want to know that right now. You're in luck because we're going to get into it right now. All right, so when you ask most people why they feel like an imposter, or, you're so successful, or you're so smart, you know what you're doing, you want to start this business and help others, why do you feel like an imposter? I find that it ultimately boils down to them believing that they are someone else other than who they desire to be. I'll say that again. Imposter syndrome ultimately boils down to believing that you are someone else other than who you desire to be. Which makes sense, because if you are trying to start an online coaching business and you're like, okay, I'm gonna put myself out there and I'm gonna put myself out as a coach or an expert or a personal brand or whatever, if you see yourself as not that person, but then you're trying to be that person and sell those things, yes, you're gonna have like some dissonance there because you don't see yourself as that person. And so this kind of could sound like splitting hairs, but the single thing that you have to learn to do is to see yourself as the person that you want to be from the outset, right? And I find that a lot of women especially have this false belief that they're not allowed to see themselves as the person they ultimately want to be, because they look at their lives and they're like, well, I don't have the things that that person would have, right? How can I say that I am, a great coach when I don't have all of these clients, or I don't have, all of this money in the bank, or I don't have all of these things, not realizing that all of those things are actually an outflowing of you deciding the type of person that you want to be. And I'm recognizing this because, if I'm honest, this is something that I mastered at a really early age, because this was, preached to me by my family, right? I think both my parents have been really instrumental in really instilling that self-confidence, but especially my mom really drilling in me that you decide the person that you want to be, and then you operate from that person, and all the things in your life will start to kind of orient to you being that person and operating in that identity. But I find that so many people have it backwards, where they're like, well, I can't operate in that identity because I don't have all the things, right? I don't have all the trappings of what that person would have, not realizing that the reason you don't have all the trappings of the things that that person would have is because you didn't decide to be that person from the outset. So I know this can sound kind of like, wait, what? So I'll give you an example, even just in my college journey. So if you've been watching my channel for any amount of time, maybe you've even sorted my channel by like most popular videos, and you're like, what the heck are all these like hair care videos? I just want the coaching videos. Well, I actually got started like decades ago, not decades, but probably about 15 years ago, first trying to build a hair care business. And that did not go well, but that's why I was doing the hair care videos, because I was, trying to, I guess, be a hair blogger and like promote myself. I don't know. But anyway, that first business failed, but not only did it fail, my college grades failed. In fact, I had a full ride engineering scholarship, and I had stopped going to class in order to build this hair care business, which is a very dumb thing to do if you were an engineering major, because that's one major where you absolutely need to be in class. And so by not being in class, obviously I was failing a lot of tests, and so my GPA plummeted, and I ended up getting my scholarship revoked. And so that was like very traumatic to me, and I had to spend all this time working my way back into school and getting another scholarship and kind of getting my grades back together. But what was really interesting was, one thing that I realized that I needed to do was I had to decide to be an A student before my transcript reflected that. I mean, think about it. So many of us in life are like, no, I'm not going to go to class. I am not going to, ask the professor questions. I'm not going to do my homework, because that's A student type stuff. I'm not going to be an A student until my report card or my transcript says that I have an A. But that's not how it works. In fact, I was an A student for about 2 whole semesters before my transcript actually reflected it, right? Because it takes time, right, for the grades to turn around and for the averages, you know, to average out and for my GPA to rise back up. But when my transcript or my report card actually said that I was an A student, I had been acting and operating like that person for at least 2 semesters prior to it showing up on my transcript. I said, what does an A student do? How does an A student think? How does an A student behave? Let me show up as that person, even though my transcripts right now doesn't say that I'm that person, but let me show up as that person and understand that the more that I continue to show up as that person, I'm an A student right now, my transcripts will just catch up. And so I think that that is the key differentiator that so many people need to understand, not just in business, but really in life. The moment you decide to be the person and you start operating as that person, you are that person, even if the circumstances are catching up, right? If you want to be a millionaire business owner, the moment you decide and start operating as that millionaire business owner, you will in actuality be a millionaire business owner before the money actually shows up in your bank account. For me to hit my first 7-figure year, I had to operate as a 7-figure entrepreneur before the 7 figures showed up in my bank account. But when was I a 7-figure entrepreneur? Did I magically become a 7-figure entrepreneur just when the money showed up? Or was I actually a 7-figure entrepreneur in terms of my identity before the money actually showed up in the bank account? It works this way with everything. If you want to be, you know, a fit and healthy person. In fact, I remember I was really struggling to get back on my fitness game after I had my daughter because I was tired, right? Who isn't tired as a new mom? And, you know, we were working through the whole sleep schedule thing. But once we finally got her in a position where she was kind of sleeping through the night and going to sleep more consistently, I think it was around 9 months, I noticed that I did have the energy to jump back into workouts. But because my identity was still very much wrapped up in this, like, oh, I'm like a tired mom, you know, I don't want to do that. I kept making excuses. It was so easy for me to not hop on my Peloton bike. You guys know that I'm a super fan of Peloton and I ride my Peloton all the time. It was very easy for me to make excuses not to do that because my identity was still trapped in this like frazzled, haggard, like new mom. And because that was the identity that I was operating under, I found that I couldn't do things that were not within that identity. However, one day I had a realization, you know, I think I was getting my makeup done for a branding shoot or different things that we were doing, and people were recognizing me from YouTube. And I had a realization of like, oh my goodness, I'm like a public figure. This is so bizarre, right? And I have been spotted out on the street. I was actually flying to South Africa for my retreat that I did back in February. And the guy at the checkout counter, like next to me, was like, are you on YouTube? I feel like I recognize you. So shout out to if you're that guy that saw me in the Houston airport. But you know, I get recognized a lot more frequently now. And so I think just everything that was going on that day and with me like having this realization, I was like, oh my goodness, I'm like a public figure. And with that, I was like, I'm a public figure. I should probably get it together and like be more consistent with my workout routine so that I can be in shape. And don't you know, it was like night and day. It was so much easier for me to be consistent. I magically stopped making excuses. Why? Identity shift. All I needed was that identity shift of, no, I'm not a tired, frazzled, haggard mom. I'm actually a public figure. It was much easier for me to work out consistently as a public figure because that falls in line with the identity of what a public figure does. So again, if you are struggling with imposter syndrome, really this boils down to a self-image and an identity issue, right? And so you have to learn to identify with the person that you are desiring to be before the circumstances validate that identity, because there's always a lag, right? You operate as the person and then the things in the life show up, right? You do the things financially and then it shows up in your bank account. You do the things from, you know, a grade standpoint as a student and then the grades show up on your transcript. But you are that person the moment you start deciding and start acting as you are that person. Again, everything really just starts to show up. And so one thing that I'll leave you with is one of my favorite books ever that I talk about a lot. If you're really struggling with this and you're like, I want to cure imposter syndrome, like, trust me, read this book. I don't have any affiliate links. Well, I'll find an affiliate link, right? Maybe like an Amazon link and we'll put it in the description, but I don't know the author. Like, I have no connection to this book whatsoever, but this is my book, okay? It's not my book, but I own this book and I feel like, you know, This book is just everything, and I've taken so many notes on it. And if you're like, ooh, Courtney, I hear what you're saying, I want to believe it, but it's just hard for me, trust me, read this book. It really validates everything. And so one quote that I'll leave you with from the book is, human beings always act and feel and perform in accordance with what they imagine to be true about themselves and their environment, right? I'll say that again. Human beings always act and feel and perform in accordance with what they imagine to be true about themselves and their environment. Therefore, if you want to act in a different way and you want to act according to who you want to be and not according to this imposter syndrome that you are dealing with, it's really important that you change how you see yourself and how you see your environment, because everything really flows from that. So this is the only cure I know for imposter syndrome. Hopefully this was really helpful to you. If it is, I actually talk about this and more in depth inside of my program, The Package. This is like one of my favorite programs ever. We put it together not too long ago. It had some really amazing trailers and everything for it, but basically everything that I just talked about and everything that we talk about in this book, I really put that from a business and from a marketing context, and how to show up as that person, even though you are waiting on the clients to show up, or you're waiting on, whatever, you're waiting on the followers. How do you show up as the person that you ultimately want to be, and then attract followers and clients and higher ticket clients and higher pricing? How do you attract all that to you? I teach you that inside of The Package. So you're interested to learn more about that, you can click the link below to learn more about that program. But I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope it was eye-opening for you. If it was, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and subscribe. And if you can't wait for my next video, definitely subscribe to my podcast, The Courtney Sanders Show, on both iTunes and Spotify. And if you can't wait for my next podcast episode or my next YouTube video, make sure you are following me on Instagram. It's CourtneyLSanders on Instagram. And with that, I'll see you in the next video. Bye.